Welcome to For the Record, an unfiltered view on current trends and timeless advice for surviving in the aesthetics industry. Whether you're an injector, practice owner, sales rep, or marketer, it's time to set the record straight. Each week, we cut through the chaos and showcase diverse perspectives and winning ideas, the best minds in the industry. I'm your host, Dr. Tiffany Hall, Chief Growth Officer at Aesthetic Record. Now, let's get started on this week's episode.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of For the Record. And today we are going into all things social, branding, how to become an Instagram rock star. Hopefully, I need this advice myself. And we're going to be going to the master herself, Mary Robb, the CEO and founder of Social Practice, this incredible Instagram, social media, branding powerhouse here in the DFW area. So she's a local neighbor of ours at Aesthetic Record. And she has made a giant splash with her and her team in the industry, taking on practices across the country, coast to coast, to help them to really wrangle in the Instagram mystery. I would call it the algorithm, the mystery, what you do with it, all the things that make a practice sort of have this digital brand, but also tying that back into your clinic and how you operate day to day. And has done some phenomenal work with vendors as well. So a lot of our partners that are vendors are also using Mary's company to help grow their brand. So it's tried and true expertise. We know what she's doing is working, and she's made a big splash also for us at Accelerator this year. She did a great lecture with another colleague of ours about your Instagram strategy and your marketing strategy. So I think today's going to be impactful, insightful, and you're going to learn a lot. So if you're scratching your head thinking Instagram, not again this week. That's what I think every single day. You have come to the right place, my friend, because we have the expert in the house. So Mary Robb, welcome to our show.
Yay, I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And social media does not have to be painful, you guys. It's supposed to be fun. So I'm hoping that today you leave with some good tangible tips, some good takeaways, but also that anxiety and stress around it. We don't have time for that. We're going to figure this out together. So I'm excited to chat more.
Well, we were just laughing that I'm old, and so Instagram for me is, I was a Facebook kid when it was the .edu email addresses. And I think there is an adjustment period for people. I mean, you've been doing this. You started Social Practice in 2019. I just was laughing that you survived the pandemic, which is awesome. But you are just natively, naturally good at this. It's kind of what you grew up doing. Many of us are not like you, Mary. But you also have a very long, not long, you're not old enough to be long, but a long history in marketing. You've done other jobs at other places. You've had marketing director roles. So give us an idea of kind of where you come from that brings this whole social media aspect together to an overall marketing strategy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So social media is essentially storytelling, right? It's creating content, sharing your story, and really just showing the world who you are, what you're passionate about, and what gifts you have and how you serve people. And it's really that simple. But my background, I grew up singing. I was a singer for 10 years, performing. I loved writing. I loved creating. I was one of those kids that didn't want to watch TV. I wanted to create videos on my little camcorder. We didn't have iPhones or anything until college, so social media wasn't super big. We had Facebook in high school, but that was kind of all it was. But with that in mind, fast forward to college, post college, I loved anything creative. So my background was in PR and marketing and advertising. I worked for 4 other agencies. And through that experience, I just saw that social media marketing was still such a new thing. And the agencies I worked for did incredible work, but they really specialized in TV, radio, print. A lot of them started to get into digital. I eventually moved on to more digital focused agencies where I worked for website companies that focus on SEO and Google ads. And they would add in social media as, another option because this was what the clients needed, right? But what I found was that it didn't fully address the needs of the clients in the sense of the content creation aspect, the community building aspect. And it just felt like a lot of the services that I was seeing in the market at the time were more of it, let's just check the box and say we do it versus it being strategically done. I'm just really big about if you're going to do it right, and you get what you pay for. And I don't like people to half-ass things, to be fully transparent. So I just felt like that was kind of the service and the deliverable I was seeing in the market. So I decided to just go ahead and do it on my own. So here we are.
Whenever there's a gap in the market, just fill it yourself. That is tried and true advice for someone who is probably stressed out, because I know how you feel.
Yeah, I know you have a very similar journey. I mean, it's so fun, but some days you're like, maybe I should have just sat down and be quiet for a second. No, it's so fun. I love it.
And I think you bring up a really valid point about the transition, because if you think about Instagram and the continuum of marketing as a discipline, I went to grad school not long ago, PhD school. We weren't talking about this yet. In grad school, Instagram was just getting started. We were talking about Facebook communities, Facebook ads, Facebook everything. And now Facebook is really for your 55 and above patient, which in our marketplace, we certainly have that audience as well. I mean, we have a large majority of audiences who are on the tail end of that curve. But Instagram is kind of that big in the middle group of, this 18 to sort of 45, 50-ish range. We all live on Instagram. I don't even open my Facebook. I haven't opened my Facebook. I don't know. I only use it to go to Meta to get ads. I don't even look at my Facebook because it's not my people. It's not my thing. I auto post from Instagram, but it's just not my gig. But I think Instagram has kind of taken over TikTok as well for various different reasons. But Instagram is the currency, and I bitch about it all the time on the podcast, Mary. I'm like, oh, Instagram again. But it really is a thing. And if you have a great website, I think you definitely need that. We'll probably, I'm sure, dig into that too. But you have to have a great website, a great web presence. But your Instagram is an in-the-moment reflection of who you are as a practice. Like that's today who you are today. So if you're cranky, your stories sound cranky. If you're happy, your stories sound happy. I think you have to kind of be on. I mean, people always say, oh, just do raw and authentic. I think that may be true, but there's a part of it that also has to be like, what is the brand you want to project? And are you staying true to that as you go day to day? And so I'd love your thoughts on that. Like, how do you make your Instagram reflect the best version of you without being just a highlight reel of all just the good stuff? Because I think that's also off-putting too.
That is such a good question, Tiffany, because this is something that I've been talking about a lot lately. People, I don't think we realize, like, we can feel people's energy just through social media. We can tell, and sometimes we're not fully aware of it, but like, we can tell if someone's being genuine and authentic and if they genuinely feel a certain way. And I don't know if you followed accounts where like someone comes on and they're just very like surface and they're just very robotic and you don't feel connected to that person at all. You get bored with them and you move on. So what I would say, because we're talking about small business owners, I'm one of them, and it's, life is challenging. There's a lot of balls that they're constantly that you're juggling. But I think that if you really want to have a presence that attracts people in, and this is going to sound a little cliche, but you have to get yourself in order first. And this is good for like leadership too, but you have to have your good routines. You have to have structure. You have to have good boundaries with your phone time. So that looks like making sure that let's just look at a day in the life of a practice owner, making sure that you're waking up and you're filling into your own cup first, so that whenever it's time for you to be in your practice, let's say you wake up at 5, do your workouts, do your devotional, do your reading, whatever, spend time with your kids, get to your practice typically by 7:38. Make sure that your energy is good most days, because every moment that you are at work, this industry is there's so much visual storytelling that we can do, because the work we do is so visual, that we need to really protect and preserve our energy. And that means first filling up our own cup and then going into the day. And then moments throughout the day, you're going to find those little opportunities to share what you're doing. And once you get to a certain size, you can start delegating and bringing people in to help you. But if you're genuinely or generally not happy most days, or if you're low energy most days, or if you are just not in a good space, it's going to be really hard to attract more people in through social media. So I like to shine a light on that a little bit. I mean, of course it's possible, but that is one thing that I'm really passionate about, because all of that is connected. It's connected to your team and how they're showing up and how they're able to show up on social media. It's connected to your partners and how they feel about working with you, and vice versa. So that's like one area I would start. And then just being comfortable being yourself and knowing what your core values are and knowing what makes you unique and leaning into those things. I think being on camera is intimidating. Okay. Like it is. And we're in the aesthetics industry and we like perfection. We like to look good. We like to feel good, but we also have to realize that it's never going to be 100% perfect. I'm a musician by trade too. So like I'm used to like, I just want it to be like literally so precise, but that's just, social media is not precise. So we have to just get comfortable with just showing up. I mean, consistency and presence is so important as well. So you don't have to be your perfect self, but I think just making that effort to really just get yourself energetically in a good place as often as you can. And then also being consistent with showing up. Those are two key things I would say, because right now what's trending in social media, I mean, you could do all the tips and the tricks and follow all the trends, but authenticity is so key. You might have heard this a lot lately. I'm kind of sick of hearing the word, to be honest, but it's true. I mean, people don't want curated content. They don't want this editorial look and feel. They are sick of the highlight reel. Doesn't mean you have to go on social media and tell everybody all your dirty laundry, but just being true to who you are and showing up consistently is definitely the way to go.
And I think it makes it challenging. If you're us, if you're a vendor, we have to communicate with our client base through Instagram because people don't read any email. They just don't. We know email is dead. I mean, although it's still very impactful. If you do read it, you convert high, but people reading it's very hard. And so for us, like Instagram is our news post. It's what's happening with the conference, with AR, a features launched. For us, it has to be in some ways editorial because we have to communicate what's going on with our software. I think for a practice, it becomes equally as challenging if they want to communicate their amazing injectors and their patient testimonials and their stories. But it's also like, hey, we have a promotion going. Hey, we have a new device. Hey, we have office hours that are closing on Saturday because of a festival in the town that's going to block our entryway. I think at some point you have to. Instagram has become our newscast. It's become what we look for news. It's also how we communicate who we are as people, our core values, our testimonials, our before and afters. I mean, it's serving a lot of gods, and that's very hard to do that well. So as you look at a practice and you walk in saying, I'm going to fix you and make you better. Come tell me that, please. What do you do? Like, how do you look at their content and say, on Monday, it should be this, on Tuesday, is it that specific, or is it, let's just build your story and then we'll figure out where to put it in on the map? Like, how do you as an expert, because I want to know what your brain says so I can start to do it, think through the content calendar for a practice?
So I really am big about planning. I love the phrase, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail, because as a business owner, we do wear so many hats. Now, when you're talking about being creative, that can be a little tricky, but I'll give you just kind of a structure here. So what I like to do, especially if someone like the owner is responsible for this right now, to keep it as simple as possible, the structure of Monday, we're going to do an educational post every Monday. So it's going to be a quick 60-second reel. I'm coming on and I'm talking about what's trending in aesthetics, the common objection I'm getting, common misconceptions, whatever it is. It's an educational video. Tuesdays, we're doing viral audios. So Tuesdays, we're looking at what's trending on Instagram. We're going to recreate it. We're going to have some fun. Wednesday, it's what our specials are, et cetera, et cetera. So like you have the same category of topic each week. That's really good for if you have limited bandwidth, or if you just need some structure. The follow-up to that, though, is if you consider like what your day-to-day looks like. We are all being pulled in a million directions. So the best thing you can do is content batch. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do it. How we approach it from an agency level is we content batch quarterly. And there's a lot of reasons why we do that. If you're managing the content in-house, you can content batch monthly, you could content batch weekly, but what that means is you're blocking a certain amount of time to sit down and create all of the videos and the photos that you need for X amount of time, because it is hard, especially for feed posts, to just on the fly create things. A lot of times what we see is like you underestimate how long it's going to take to create a post. Oh, I'll just film this trending audio. Then you have to refilm it 5 times. Then you have to write the caption. Then you have to find the cover image. Then you have to find the hashtags. And then an hour and a half later, you have to post it to stories and you have to do this. And so it becomes this whole thing. So if you can plan ahead and content batch, that's a great way to be more efficient with it. But personally, for stories, I love in the moment stories. So either you can just find just different moments to show up, or your team support it. I don't know if you guys talk about this very often, but I love it when practices have it as part of their job description and job descriptions and their job KPIs, that social media involvement is a part of the job. I mean, it really should be, from a company culture, practice culture perspective, it should be an all hands on deck approach. When I see an employee of one of my clients have a negative attitude about being on social media, I get very defensive, because this is how we're going to grow the business, and this is how we're going to attract in more patients. And these owners are investing in marketing so that we can all get busier. So it's really just like having the team buy-in to support this too. That's a whole other rabbit hole, but yeah.
I think it's a huge rabbit hole. So, we have a sister company that is Mini Med Spas, and part of their performance metrics each month includes before and afters that they turn in, the B&A, the patient's treatments, a testimonial if we have it, like that's part of their payment. That we don't do commission because obviously it's illegal. We do like a bonus structure, and that's part of what they get. And I recommend to anyone whoever I consult with about commission, If you get rid of commission, first of all, do that. But part of your bonus structure is contributing to the marketing of the practice, whether that's on your own Instagram posting, if you're part of the practice's Instagram owned assets, posting, as that person, it's getting assets to whoever makes things every day. It's putting in stories, because it is a all hands on deck. And we struggle with that, Mary, so much. I mean, as a small business leader, I can tell you that even in our own business, I have to beg and plead every single week, day, month to say, can someone give me content? Because I'm in it all day, much like I'm sure you are with your practice. When you're in Instagram all day long, as you are, to think about going to do Instagram probably isn't very sexy. It's like when I'm doing Instagram all day long here and doing things all day long, I get burned out, and I'm like, what could I possibly post next? And I remember everything that I posted. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I posted that last week. Actually, I posted it 2 years ago, but it feels like last week. So we don't reuse content
Yeah.
here at all, which is terrible. We should probably reuse it, repurpose it for different things. But you need people who are not you to come give you insight, influence, ideation, creativity. Like, you need people who are not you, because you get too entrenched in it, you get disillusioned with it, and you're like, ugh, another Instagram post. I find that to be such a common thing for those of us who are trying to wear many hats, that it's just one more thing to do every day. And you want it to be great. Like, we all want it to be phenomenal. We want it to be the level that you're doing it at, but we just can't, because we're burned out and we're tired. And it's like the last thing we want to do all day long. And so I think these things like batching, I use Canva for everything. I'm sure many of us on the Instagram or on the podcast do as well. But the batching in Canva, the AI batching, is so nice when you can do like a tip of the day. You can put 50 of them in the same template, click a button, it's easy. But again, it takes the time to sit down and do it. So I think blocking out your calendar and saying, I'm going to do this on Tuesday from 2 until 5 and only this, don't interrupt me, the door's shut. I think you almost have to do that to be able to get into a creative zone, into a flow, and not be bouncing like a rabbit and a squirrel and a shiny thing, across all the different tasks that you're doing. But it's a
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah, you have to time block. It's just like with anything. So for our business, for example, we shoot content monthly, and we block an hour to shoot a few videos. And it's because there's no way, like on an office day, I'm sure with your business, with practice owners, I mean, you've got 8, 10, 12 meetings, 8, 10, 12 patients. You've got to go answer emails, answer texts, answer this, and that. And it's impossible. So you definitely need to have some structure. And then I do think one other area that I've noticed, if you are wanting to support social media efforts in-house with your own team, there needs to be someone that fully owns the social media, and they need to have a very clear description of what the expectation is there. Because I have a lot of conversations with practices who they have maybe their front desk or their office admin responsible for managing a social, and then their expectations aren't being met, but there also isn't clarity. So it's like getting very clear on like what it is that you're wanting them to do. But I completely agree with you in the sense of, we can't, as the owners, it's hard to be responsible for all of the ideas and all the creativity. So I think just finding the right person, and also clearly spelling out what the expectation is for them, but then they need to take it and run with it. So there's a bunch of different ways to like address having social media in-house. You can either have one person own it that also has multiple hats. You might be able to have someone that's full-time that owns it. If you do that, I also agree, or I highly suggest very, very descriptive job description, very clear KPIs, that there's a lot of parameters around what the expectation is, or you outsource it to an agency like ours. So it's really just dependent on the size of business, the season of business, and what works best for your practice model.
And the importance of business and what your goals are. If you're wanting to grow quickly and get some social media traction, to do it in-house, it's virtually impossible if you're busy. If you're trying to grow a business and grow Instagram and do all of it well, I mean, I think outsourcing is really your only option, because you can't afford to hire a full-time person, and you may not need them long-term. You don't know. I think there's only one choice here. It's like to hire a person that can get you where you want to go quickly and jump over all the roadblocks that you're going to face internally if you try to do it yourself. But I think what you mentioned about the job description being so specific, because that is the reason, right? If I'm going to hire someone in-house, the voice, the color, the brand, all the pieces that make us, because now if the voice changes significantly because someone took it over, that's apparent. Like, the captions are different now, and the words are changed. And for me, it's like, I can't give that away, because I want to go back through and edit everything and make sure it's our verbiage, our look, our feel. And so it slows everything down, as we all know. But because it is your billboard for the world, I mean, it is what people look at when they see you. But to that point, question for you, and this may not even be relevant to your world right now, but I think about the FTC, I think about the legal parameters around Instagram. that we're seeing more and more folks who are getting dinged. They're getting, medical boards are calling. They take pictures of their Instagram to say, you made promises you couldn't fulfill. You went against FDA indications to say that, you could make someone look 10 years younger. That's obviously an unfounded claim. If you work in pharma, you can never do that on Instagram. There's so many rules about that. But I do think at some point practitioners are going to face the same kind of rules, and some are facing it now, obviously, but how do you guys work through that? And do you see that and think to yourself, I need to let that person know, like, get that shit off your Instagram. That's not good for you. Because I think it's going to be, as we get through the opioid crisis, we get through what's happening with the drugs and things, in the world, the next thing is aesthetics, because we are a cash cow for industry and they want to regulate the heck out of us. So how do you guys tackle that challenge?
I think that it's really important, and this is kind of like my advertising background coming through, because there's a lot of disclaimers and things like that you have to work on, especially when you're talking about paid media. You're a lot more at risk and a lot more audited. Social media, if you're not doing a paid ad campaign, it is considered organic. So there's a little bit more wiggle room, but you're right. There is, like with Ozempic, for example, like we need to be saying semaglutide and not referencing it as Ozempic, or making promises you can't say you will look 10 years younger. It's all about the words that we're using, and we can't make guarantees or promises. So I think just being really mindful of what captions you're writing, what you're putting in your graphics. I think that if you have a claim like that, you can use words like up to, or this was one patient's result. You can always add disclaimers, but you just are really mindful about the words you're using and the words that you're saying in your videos. Just don't make any really strong claims. And if you are showing results, make sure that you specify it's for an individual and it's not a promise across the board.
And not that any client would ever do this of yours, I hope. I know they wouldn't, but taking someone else's before and afters, I've had more instances of that lately, people calling me saying, so-and-so took our BNA and used it on their Instagram page. Or the patients that I treat for all of their filler and toxin, the esthetician posted and said it was her result at a different practice because she goes to her for facials. I think that's unfortunately quite common. Or they're sharing results across multiple practices. And that's tricky because the esthetician probably had great skincare results, but you need to disclaim the patient has also had that before and after. They've had filler, they've had toxin, they've had laser. Like, it wasn't just a magical facial that did it. It was a lot of other things. It's like having a facelift and saying, oh yeah, it was Botox. Like, we had a facelift, sis. We did Botox. I think there is a part of it where people also know that some things are not realistic, right? If you post this amazing transformation and it's not a realistic expectation based on what you've given the patient or what you disclose as your treatment, they're going to know that. And I think you do more harm than good than just not even putting it out there, or being very transparent about what it is, what part of it, circle the part you want them to look at or whatever else it is, because people, to your point before, want you to be authentic, to be who you are as a person, but that also means you have to be a truth teller, I think, on the gram. And sometimes in our industry, it's very competitive. We're not always truth tellers, Mary. So I think that's a watch out that I see more often than not recently, not so much before, but I think more so now I'm seeing it often where it's the before and after pirates. They're stealing them.
Well, we need to, that is something that our clients are concerned about, is they ask, how do I get patient consent? How do I get more of my patients bought in on being comfortable showing their face on social media? So I do have a few tips on that, because I completely understand that it can be tricky if you feel like your patients are really pushing, wanting to give consent to their photos. But like we talked about earlier, the nature of the work that we're doing, it's very visual. It's how people are shopping. People are using Instagram and TikTok as their search engine now. So they're going to go to your profile. They care about you, your credentials, your experience, but they're also looking at your work. So if we're not showing your work on social media, we're totally missing the mark here. So a couple of things that we've seen really help with this. First of all, we need to get some coaching on how to have those conversations, because I've seen some of them go down. And if you're nervous asking someone for their consent, or if your team is nervous or they feel like it's an uncomfy conversation, that energy is going to come across and that person's going to already just be hesitant to even sign the consent form. So that's one piece of it. Another piece of it is, how do we make this as efficient and easy as possible? It should be a part of all new patient paperwork. I still to this day come across clinics that don't have that included, is having the consent form in the new patient paperwork. It kind of sounds like a duh, but it really needs to be a part of your new patient. So we can already check that box from the very beginning. The other thing that you can do, this is what we recommend to our clients, is because we come out and we do shoots once a quarter, we have them send emails and texts out to their client base, and they say, hey, look, we're having a social media day today. If you come to our practice, we'll offer you 50% off your procedure of choice. You do need to sign a consent form so we can get before and afters. You will have to send us your afters later on in a week or two. So that's one way that you can do it as well. But I think that we have to know that with the work we're doing, we have to be able to get our own before and afters. You can invite your friends and family in to do a treatment complimentary. So I hate that people are stealing each other's photos. We certainly, as an agency, we're liable. We have to follow HIPAA laws, of course. So we do not steal photos, but that would be frustrating if that was happening to one of our clients or practices.
I think it's very common. I think if we did a poll right now, a live poll, you'd see it is so incredibly common. I think more so, though, taking credit for other people's work where they're sharing practices, and it gets much more common. But I love what you said about just putting it in your new patient packet. But to your point about the social media days, we all do trainings all the time. Every practice is in a training. Once a month, they're in a training for Galderma or Allergan or a laser or whoever else. For me, if you're a model in the practice, if you come in as a model, it's just inherently understood that you're going to sign that consent. Like you're coming in at a discounted rate to model for us to work with this vendor, the manufacturer of the product, to learn how to do it better. You should definitely think that you're going to be doing that. And I think we don't set the expectation early on of like, this is a social media opportunity for us. Also, because we want to capture the photos for us as a learning opportunity. And if your practice, if a person asks for a discount, they want something from you. It's like, great, love to do it, but you have to give me something in return. But I think people, they're learning. I feel like it's like a cadaver lab. It's your body for science. To use your picture on Instagram to show before and after, you're doing the Lord's work. You're showing people what this could look like, in their own life, in their own face. And there's a benefit for that. And I think if you can approach a patient to say, this helps others understand what this can do for them. They're scared and you're not. You're brave enough to come do it and you've got great results. I want to show that. Then it's not about marketing. It's about, this is how I'm going to educate others, because they are not as educated as you are. They don't know what you know. And I want to make sure that they know people who are just like them have these amazing results. I think it's everything is in the pitch, right? We're all pitching something all the time. It is in the pitch. And if you're not confident, to your point, if it's like, oh gosh, will you sign this? They think that you're going to use their face to make money. It's like, well, in a sense, yes, but it's really to educate my population on what we could do if they would come in and visit us. And so, it just be standard. I can't imagine in 2024 people being like, don't put my face on Instagram, but I guess it happens every day.
It does. But I will be honest, it's the practices that when they communicate to me that they're having an issue with it, that it's very clear that they are not communicating clearly and confidently to their patient about the consent form. Because I promise you, if we were to sit in there and do, like you said, it's about the pitch. That's where, and I can understand that can be uncomfortable if you don't know what to say and how to say it. But like you said, there's 5 reasons why this is a benefit. I mean, to all your points that you mentioned. So, it's definitely showing the work is a huge thing. The before and after photos are good. I love the before and after videos as well. When we do the whole face before, we do the whole face after. Splice just released an update. If we do have people listening that do their own video editing, that they automatically edit your clips together. So if you film like a 2-minute long clip and you want to break it into 15 seconds or just make it 15 long, you click the little AI feature and it completely puts it all together for you, which is really fun. So I just tried that the other day, which was exciting. There are some bugs around it. Just when you download the video, they make you include a song that is provided by Splice, but you can go into your Apple camera roll and you can mute it and then upload it to Instagram story. So there was all kinds of little tools and tricks coming out.
I think that is probably the number one thing when I'm asked about social media and production in general. Is like, you've got to have great tools. I use Opus Clip for a lot of the podcast highlight reels because you upload your episode, it finds the best 15 most viral eligible clips, and it does all the captions for you. You can go in, obviously you can edit it, you can change the captions, change the words and things, make it look better. But without Opus Clip, I have to go manually edit all the videos myself in Veed. We use Veed here a lot, but the V, if you guys have not heard of that, and to put it all in there and cut it myself and splice it and then do all the captioning myself. Can I do it? Yes. Do I have time to do it when I've got AI that can do it for me in one click? Why would I waste the time? And so I think having tools if you're going to be a DIYer with this, you have to have a toolbox that is robust, and it's going to take a bit of money in some cases to buy some of these things, monthly subscriptions. But without it, I don't know how you'd survive because there's just not enough hours in the day to do all the custom editing that you need to do the way we used to do it in the old days, before all the AI tools showed up. It's just so much faster now, but you got to have stuff and you got to know how to use it. If you're not tech savvy, it's definitely harder to be good at Instagram if you're not wanting to learn all these tools. It's a challenge. You need to have a person like Mary do it for you because you have to learn how to use them, or else you're stuck in a room trying to edit videos by yourself, and it's just not a fun place to be.
No, and your time is more valuable, honestly. From a financial perspective, typically business owners are the highest on the payroll. So if you're spending hours and hours doing things that you could delegate for a much lower hour rate, you're losing your money business by taking all of that on by yourself, if you think about it. So yeah, the tools are important. We really love Sprout Social for scheduling content. We also do use ChatGPT as well, especially for coming up with new ideas and ideating and using all like what are like the 10 most trending topics around Botox right now? What are the 10 misconceptions around Botox? Like you can put so many prompts in there and just brainstorm and come up with new ideas to help with just being creative, because that's also kind of that's an energetic pull in itself. So I was trying to think of other tools that we use that are really. We also use a tool called Superhuman. I actually just heard about this from my friend Jared Rohr at Aesthetic Conversion. I'm sure you guys know who he is, some of you, but Superhuman's great for email management and responses as well, which is a great kind of efficiency tool. Good for patient coordination and scheduling. We email all of our clients the leads that come in through the DMs. They can get in touch with them ASAP. But yeah, there's so much AI technology out there that keeps coming out, and it's getting better and better as time goes on. So I'm personally not afraid of it. I know that there's kind of some controversy around it. Some people feel very uncomfortable with it, but I personally love it. So
We're huge fans. I use Claude. I've graduated past ChatGPT. Love him, but he's not good enough for me anymore. I've moved on to his
love this.
to his big brother. But I will tell you, you mentioned using some things for DMs and such. Shameless plug. We have LeadAR here, our CRM. And that's the reason that we started looking into it, even for our own purposes, is because when you DM us, it goes into our funnel, into a pipeline. It gets auto responded to. We can all see what's coming in. We can all respond, because part of Instagram is, if you're going to be on there, you have to engage with your community. Posting is like 1/3 of the battle here. You got to post, you got to comment, you got to like, you got to respond, post on other people's posts. You've got to be so involved. So we do everything where it's all automated, where you can text the word Botox. So and all of a sudden that triggers, when you do that, a whole DM thing that comes back to you with your link to book. And we help practices every day here that are DIYers to do all of that without having a human involved, to get that part done, so that they can spend their time as a human working on the comments and things and engaging with their community. Even some of the AI content, we do content generation here for them with AI and captioning with AI, because they don't have enough time. And sometimes something's better than nothing. Getting it 80% there, talking about team, if it's 80% there, it's good enough to post for now. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to be present. But I do think that this idea that you have to comment and like and share and be in Instagram requires you as a business owner to spend time each day devoted to engaging with people. Because if you have a great post that goes out and it's phenomenal, people are commenting on it like crazy, to not engage with the comments at all, it's not a good look either, because they want to hear from you. They want to hear what you have to say about it. But to that point, question for you, because I hear this a lot, does the caption really matter? If the content is great, the video is phenomenal, do we care about the caption and what should be in that caption for this like search engine idea with Instagram to pop up when someone's looking for, Botox near me kind of thing?
Yeah, it depends on the post type. So if you're talking about a video, typically the intention is that the bulk of the content is in the actual video. So the caption should not be that long. However, if it's one of those videos that's like a hook and then it says read caption for details, then yeah, the caption needs to have all the answers, all the tangible tips, all the CTAs and whatnot. But with video content, with carousel content, that's more of a visual type of element. And so we want to get the majority of what's being told in that post in the actual, we call it an asset versus the caption. So that's been our experience. But like I said, or if you're wanting to hook them to read the full caption, the hashtag thing, that's an ongoing debate. I don't think it needs to be more than 5 to 8 hashtags max. They need to be intentional. The whole idea on SEOing your Instagram is very real, because we know you can search. Like if you search Botox, it's now people are keyword searching. This is also how people are shopping. So you do want to be intentional. If you stuff it and it sounds just clunky or robotic, like it's not going to work as well. So there needs to be a balance of being intentional. If you're sharing a video about Botox or you're sharing a video about a certain product or manufacturer, add that hashtag or add it as a word in your caption so that the algorithm can pick it up. But you also don't want to do keyword stuffing. We all saw how that worked for Google for SEO years ago. It's Google's also their algorithm right now is really focused on content quality. And so like they're looking for the articles that have the best, most accurate, most recent information. We are all very smart with the internet now, and the algorithms know that. So just I think the word intentional and intentionality is going to be really big and continue to be so important because consumers are just really wanting the answer to their question, but they're looking for a very accurate, precise, detailed answer as well. So like thinking through the things that we're sharing and how valuable are they to your target client. That's the big thing is I always like to ask during content strategy meetings and when looking at profiles, how does this post add value to my patients? How is this impacting their world? And the more that we can be intentional with the content we're sharing around that one question, you don't need to really study all the different trends and all the random things. How are we adding value to our audience and how are we showing up?
Yeah, we live and die here by the expertise, authority, and trust. Your Google Eat score. You gotta eat, baby, as I say now. There's a misnomer I think from back in the day when I was doing this early on in my career that you would keyword stuff everything. Your blogs were all keywords. It would make no sense at all. It wouldn't even be a coherent sentence, but it would have every keyword you could ever imagine about toxin in there. And and Google's obviously smart. People don't value that. They don't come back and read it again. So just like what happened with Google, I think Instagram is very similar. But I do think looking at a patient population, the trends, I am not a big trend gal. I've got a lot of youngsters here at AR that love the trends. They love the TikToks. But I think if a patient is 45 years old or 50 years old, that trending audio probably is less impactful for them than saying how to get ready for your appointment, how to rebook your visit, how to take care of your face after a device, laser treatment. The things that are for their life, for their moment that they're in, for their benefit, they will read that in its entirety, watch the
Yeah.
videos, go to your website if you've linked it in to look at more about that. So the trending audio, while it's catchy, if your goal is to serve your patient population that you have today, bring them value. If it's to go find new leads and to get discovered, I think that's where the trending stuff is really impactful. But I think it's a matter of what are you trying to accomplish? Who is your audience? And what resonates with that group of core people? And if your audience, by the way, is a 50-year-old woman, doing a lot of the young, fun audio viral things probably isn't going to be where she's looking. It's probably not going to be the things that she's attached to, in the interwebs that will find her cookies and say, yep, this is what she's going to love. So I think there is an
Yeah.
intentionality about it that you got to kind of know, you got to know where you want to go. And if where you're going to go is not that thing, just because you love it doesn't mean that your audience will love it. And you're unfortunately on Instagram, while you're being authentic, you're also posting for value of your audience who might have very
Yes.
different views than you have. And so I
Yes.
think while you got to know you attract your vibe, attracts your tribe. Also, you've got to help your existing tribe find value in what you do. So I don't know how you guys kind of
Exactly.
assess that from practice and kind of figure out who do you want to be when you grow up, and now let's build that persona for you.
Yeah, it's know the room. It's the same thing, know your audience. And it is so much about serving. And, yes, you want to be authentic, but how is what you're communicating solving a problem? How is it highlighting the benefit of what you can do? And just when we're building out campaign strategies, that's one of the top two things we look at. Who are we speaking to? Who is our target patient? In the aesthetics industry, it kind of does range. I mean, most of our clients are wanting an age range of 25 to 65. If I had to narrow it down, 35 to 55 is really like the hot point. But of course, we want to get the ones in their 20s and early 30s to get them started. And then we want to capture the ones that maybe are just wanting to dip their toe in. They're going to take a little bit longer to make these decisions. They've never done aesthetics before. But with that in mind, we try to keep those viral audios no more than 10 to 20% of our overall campaign strategy, if that, just because we know that there's a lot of different types of content. So we definitely need to have our educational content that is where you talk about your experience, your education, these trainings you're doing. I see a big lack right now of practices forgetting to capture these trainings they're doing, but there's so much value in that investment, that the time investment, first of all, sometimes there's a financial investment behind it too. And leaning on those vendors, leaning on those reps and those big companies that you're buying from, this is educational content to show your patients, hey, look, like you can go to Sally down the street who's doing Botox in a hair salon suite. I don't know. But is Sally going to all these trainings? Does she have this expertise? Does she have this knowledge? Like showcasing your credibility, that educational content so big, talking about what's trending on aesthetics. Then we're going to have those patient outcomes. So we need to make sure that we have an even mix at least once or twice a week of those before and afters, patient testimonials, the videos, the services, live video of the procedures, of how they work, what you can expect throughout the whole procedure. Then you have your culture content, and that's where you can throw in some viral audio. That's where you're talking a lot about your team, your core values as a practice, what sets you apart. The aesthetics industry is getting saturated, and people are price shopping more so now than ever. But this is where we really need to sell value over price, and that's where we can really kind of lean in on the things that we believe in. And the millennial population, they really do care about experience, and they're not as price sensitive as other generations at times, but that experience, then we need to be able to showcase that. So where we can really highlight that under like that culture umbrella, if you will. And then the other bucket would be the sales related posts. So your memberships, we love, 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 love monthly memberships, your monthly promotions, if you do those. A new patient special is really good to do on social media. We personally love the gift certificate approach versus discounting price per unit or discounting 20% off a laser device, whatever. We like a new patient special, get a $50 new patient gift certificate with a minimum $200 spend only towards procedures, et cetera, and make that available on your social media profiles, but also whenever new followers follow your account, make sure you're DMing them, welcoming them to your page, and making sure that you're sending them a link to, oh, by the way, because you're a new follower, you have access to this special. Some of our clients even do a social media fan follower special. So even if you're not a new patient, if you follow us, you'll get access to this social media only special. So those are kind of some of the buckets, if you will, content pillars is what we call them, of what we want to do. But to your point, we really need to balance it all out, because the dancing or the fun viral audios, we love them, but at the same time, we need to consider our audience and make sure we're hitting on all the right points.
Well, and they're fun. If you're doing it for culture and for the practice environment, I think it's a perfect place to do it. It's just when it overshadows. But we're big here about these non-transactional communications, where I see a lot of practices, any business, not anybody, frankly, any practice in any industry, where everything they post is about selling something. It's about, the call to action is always like to buy this, to come in and get this. There's a part of it with email, I think with your website, with social media, where you're just non-transactional. You're not trying to sell or push or buy, or it's just, I want to deliver value to you. My call to action for you is to take care of your skin and use SPF, or to make sure that you take time for yourself and come get a massage, whatever the things are. Filling up your own cup, drinking enough water, like whatever the things are you want them to do. It's non-transactional in the sense that it's not pushing a sell. It is truly educational content, because people will come back for that. Like, I have people I follow every day because they have such great insight and ideas and thoughts that I will go to their page just routinely a few times a week because I love what they post, and they're not pitching me anything. Now, when I get ready to buy something, I go to them to see if they sell it. Like if I want to do a consulting call or a webinar, I'm like, I want to have this. I love their content so much. If they have it, I want to buy what they're selling because I'm in love with their value. And it's non-transactional value for me. And so I think depending on your consumer, there's also a part of it where just be a good citizen of the interwebs and deliver value. But I think that's probably a whole different podcast about how that works. But one thing I do want to talk about is when you create a social media brand that looks one way, and then I come to your practice and it's a whole different way. I think that is also a risk for some people, that their Instagram is, again, a highlight reel. Practice looks beautiful. Everyone's happy and smiling and fabulous, and it just looks so professional. And then I walk in the door and it's like, holy cow, this cannot be the same place. It's like a catfish, a bait and switch. Does that happen?
Yeah.
And how do you as a practice really watch out for showing your best self, but also making sure that there is not, it's like when you have bad hair roots, you got dark hair and blonde roots and it just doesn't match. How do you keep them from having that problem permeate their brand?
That's such a great question. I talk about this, we can't put lipstick on a pig, and so it's one of those things. Before you start investing in a lot of marketing, we need to get really clear on your message and on your brand and on what you represent. And I will be honest, like there are people that I have talked to that I'm like, I don't think we can help you because there are things that are not aligned. And there is a rub between marketing and sales always in every business. It's like, well, marketing's not doing their job and sales. At the end of the day, like the foundations of the business need to be healthy for your marketing and your sales to work well. So you need to have solid team members who have aligned in your values and that are reliable, that have high levels of integrity. Whatever your values, whatever your expectations are, needs to be in place. You need to have a space that's marketable. It's a cash pay, fee for service experience. People care about the patient experience. So we need to make sure that we have those things in place. And then we also need to make sure that we have clarity on each individual's role, and from the Google search to the website to the social media to walking through the front door to being a patient to leaving the practice to the follow-up, all of that needs to be well thought out and like a well-oiled machine before we start investing in advertising and marketing the business. Because what's going to happen is if we turn it on and we start getting traffic in the door, but either we're not converting, that could be one issue, so we're not converting them into new patients, or two, they're just never coming back. That is an operational based issue. So I know it's kind of a complex way to look at it, but I suggest if there are issues in those areas, we need to not invest in marketing until we clean those pieces up.
I could not agree more. We tell people every day with LeadAR, if you can't work leads, don't start marketing. Don't buy ads. Don't spend money on Google ads and Facebook ads. If you can't work the pipeline effectively, there is absolutely no point in it, because if that lead sits there for a day, they're gone. They're out.
They're
They've called
gone.
somebody else. If they sit there for 30 minutes, they're gone. So if you don't have an automated text back process or a DM response that can come back and say, we're so excited that you followed us, we would love to have you in our practice. If you don't have that in place to turn on an ad spend, it's just like driving down the freeway and putting money out the window, because it doesn't happen through divine intervention. Like we wish it did. It does not. But if a person is not doing paid media, or they're not doing like a way to truly track leads, how do you help them to monetize organic? Because I think this is a problem that we all have is, your follower count's really high, you're growing crazy Instagram, communities, but it's not bringing patients in. How do you get them to think through like that organic content? Where does that come into the practice? How do you monetize that and say there is an ROI? All these things that we're doing, there is money to be had here. We're doing the right things. We're seeing people coming in the door. Is it a lead conversion issue, or is it just eyeballs on my page and the eyeballs don't know what to do next?
There are so many things that could influence that. And I would just look at the overall strategy. And there's a couple places I would look at your content strategy first. If the goal is to drive patients, like how are we incentivizing people to convert into becoming a patient? And what does that buying journey look like? Do we have an even mix of the promotions that we have, the before and afters, the culture, the education? Are we doing an even mix of these types of content? The content's going to be the first one. The second one's going to be how are we engaging with the current audience that we have? How are we engaging in the DMs with them? How are we responding to comments? How are we keeping up? They have like the hunter and gatherer in sales. It's like how are we really farming, or hunter and farmer? How are we really farming? The current relationships we have. How are we cultivating and building? And then there is how are we reaching new people? Are we being intentional with that? This is one piece that I see most businesses fall short because it's a time thing. I was at a Like to Know It conference 5 or 6 years ago, and they had a panel of four of like the top influencers that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers. And one of them said something that just put it all in perspective. She said, I spend about 4 to 6 hours a day just communicating with people and reaching out to people. So the way that I would suggest translating that into a business, a practice, is there should be someone on the team, whether it's you or someone else, that it's not only just about responding to people, but you're reaching out to people and you're building relationships in the community with other local businesses, other local influencers, other people checking into businesses nearby to your practice. we have a very tangible way that we do that. We have a community manager on our client accounts who spends 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday. Their only job is to reach out and engage with new people and build new relationships. So that's another piece to consider. And this is just one nugget I'll leave here is that the point of social is to be social. So if you have a solid content strategy, you're good at manning the inbox. Are you being intentional about building new relationships as well? It is a relationship building platform. And the more time that you spend communicating with people and reaching out to new people, that does help with your content visibility as well, because then more people are coming back to your page, which shows the algorithm that your page is more active. You're getting more profile visits, you're getting more likes and comments, you're getting more followers. So that's one piece too. And that can be tricky because again, it's a time thing, but someone in the practice can do it. You can do it. I know I've had clients that it blew my mind that I've had clients come to me and say, I spend 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at night doing it. I'm like, how? But they were doing it. She's like, I do it in the bathtub. I'm like, you're a crazy girl. I am so sorry, but we will do that for you. But you can outsource it. But anyways, so that's my soapbox on building community, and it's not just working on the current audience, but it's working on building a new audience as well and bringing new people in.
Well, I think the micro influencer conundrum is solved by that. Like if you're looking at micro influencers, I love to say instead, go find other businesses who have a great audience that you want. They want yours, you want theirs. If you are socially working together, they are your influencer. You are their influencer, and you both have a reason to benefit from this. And you're both aligned to the goal of we're trying to drive business into each other's practices or each other's groups. And they want to show you in the best light. And for them, it doesn't become so much like a paid ad and adversarial about the contracts and things. Like here, I will be honest with you, for the conference, if we didn't have faculty who posted about us and vendors who posted about us, we would not survive. I mean, we have a great reach, don't get me wrong. We pay for some of that reach, but because other people who matter, they want to be successful because they're selling tickets as well, and they're coming here and their brands are being showcased. They're incentivized to promote our conference, and we're incentivized to promote them as a vendor who's coming or as a faculty who's coming. And so we have interests that are aligned, and they are our micro influencer. I don't have to pay for that reach. They don't pay me for that reach, but we are benefiting together. And we're becoming, again, quote unquote, social within our market. And they also have a different group of people seeing their ads than I do or seeing their content than I do. So it helps us to get a bigger reach. And I think there's this idea that we have to have influencers. And at the end of the day, influencers are like people in mommy groups that go to like the library and do readings. Like that's who you want, right? That's who has the money to spend, and they're eager to come in. And that could be a community outreach where they're advertising you, you're advertising them. I just think micro influencers, people get really caught up in that. And it's like, if you're a mature brand who's like really, looking at a big launch, I totally get it. But if you are a single practice owner, your community is your influencer. Go find great partners and you can influence together. And then you become partners in this for, hopefully for a long time, a great working relationship. And many times it's free at no cost. And it's just a great benefit to have. And then you have partners and, like you mentioned, Jared and I work together all the time with our businesses because we have a mutual client base that needs what he has to offer and his need what I have to offer. And so we can work together. He's an influencer for me. I'm an influencer for him. And it's because we benefit from that. There is no money changing hands. It's just a great benefit. So I agree with you. Be in the community, be at the places where your patients go and have an impact there, a physical real life impact that you can then bring back to social. And they're going to want to follow you because they've met you live, or they've seen what you've done, and they care about your content now going forward.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
my TED Talk.
No, I love it. It's so true. So, I mean, I think that's a great place to end to. Just, I think that there's we've talked about a lot of different things, but obviously being authentic, that's going to continue to be important. I also think that being strategic in what you're putting out there and really taking the time to map that out and blocking your schedule. But I think also not forgetting that it's just a relationship building platform. That's it. And we're here to serve the community. We're here to make new relationships and just making sure that you're getting a site, and that's where you will absolutely see success. I get just in my business, I don't look at Facebook like I'm just like you, Tiffany. I don't really look at it that much, but I get DMs in my Facebook because my stories from Instagram share there. I get DMs in my Instagram. We get new discovery client call meetings all the time from my own personal just presence on social, and then also through the business presence that we have. But we're doing all the things that I just shared today, and it works for our clients as well. So it's definitely, it can be a huge asset to a practice, and it's just something that it's really cool because it can get you in front of more of the type of people that you want to work with, and it can help you grow. So
Yeah, we refer to you guys all the time because we're like, we don't want to do that. Don't call me. Call Mary Robb. No, so your big takeaway is obviously being authentic. And I think one thing you mentioned as well before we came on was just like, doing video. Just show up and do the video. Just bite the bullet. Don't be scared and just go film your stories. Go film your Instagram content. I hate doing it, but because of that reason, I'm like, gosh, not a story. But I think what you said before is just you've got to be out there in the moment doing the things. And so I love all the things we talked about today. I think we make Instagram seem really hard. And at the end of the day, what you said, it's just a social platform to connect. So for those who want to connect with you and to find out how you can support their practices, give us some information on how you guys work and how to get hold of you so that they can call you or DM you as soon as they hear this and get with you guys to get their Instagram shaped up.
yes. Okay. So from a business perspective, you can find us on any social platform. It's Social Practice US. Our website is social-practicetx.com. We have a really cool social media audit that will walk through your entire Instagram presence and will give you tangible tips on how you can improve your performance. We basically grade those 3 areas that we talked about earlier. So that's a great just kind of starting point if you're not ready to fully delegate it over, or you're just kind of doing your research and you want just some tips. Feel free to go to our Instagram or website. We have a form for a free social media audit. You can find me on social media. It's Mary Elizabeth Robb is my personal brand page. I share there whenever I have time and I can. I love health and wellness and all the things. So I also love clothes, so I link stuff there. But oh, the other thing I'll mention is if you are looking to hire a social media manager for your practice, we have a new client discovery meeting. It's a 30-minute one-on-one session with me. And basically we look at what are your practice goals? What are your biggest challenges with social media? What's working in your marketing strategy? What's not? And then we essentially kind of work together and see if a partnership would make sense. So I'm happy to sit down and have a strategy call. And there's a link for that discovery call in our Instagram and on our website as well at Social Practice. So that's how you can get in touch with me.
And don't forget, you have an awesome podcast, The Aesthetic Edit, that people, if you want to hear more from Mary and from some of her colleagues in her practice, they are always talking about really all the hot button things that are happening in the industry. You have great guests on who are always discussing the things that you want to know, but you don't know who to ask. It's happening on your podcast. So if you guys have not checked that out, definitely go follow that. There's some great episodes. I've listened to many of them. You guys have fun as well. So it's a great place to learn and grow, but also just to enjoy. I think podcasts can be so, bleh. You want to learn, but you also want to laugh and have fun and be excited about it. And you guys do a great job of keeping it light. So I'm a big advocate. Go follow them.
Yes, it's called The Aesthetic Edit, and we are looking for guests for season 2. It's going to start in January. So the whole idea behind it is we're having aesthetic professionals, the most ambitious aesthetic entrepreneurs in the space coming in. We like to dive into your story, how you got started. That's always really fun to hear, just your founding story. But then we go into your hot take around some sort of topic that is controversial. We're always having to overcome different news articles, different things that people are spreading on social media, the things that we're doing in our industry. So we like to dive in and we want to hear the truth about it. And then we wrap up with a conversation around social media. So it's a really fun production in Spit Alice. So definitely check us out, The Aesthetic Edit.
All the good things. Well, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing all of your expertise. Not all of it, but probably just a small smidgen of all the things that you know how to do. And guys, go follow her. Go look at their content. I think you'll get some great ideas. But also, if you're looking for someone to help you, I can't recommend them strongly enough. Like, go do it. Go pay the money. Get help. Get what you need, and save yourself the chaos. Save yourself the headache and the drama of trying to do it. I mean, for your own mental health, I recommend that you call Mary Robb right now to get it off your plate. That's what I'm telling you. Just call someone who knows what they're doing. But no, I appreciate you coming on. And for all the rest of you, we'll be back next week with more exciting episodes of For the Record. So Mary, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I had such a good time chatting with you.
Yeah, we could talk all day. But maybe we will continue this in the next episode at some point in season 6. Now, we'll see all of you guys next week and For the Record. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of For the Record. This podcast is not intended to provide legal or medical advice. It's for entertainment, education, and information purposes only. For more information on this week's guest or to get started with Aesthetic Record, email us at info@aestheticrecord.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more fresh perspectives on disrupting the status quo and surviving in the aesthetics industry.